Welcome to MoeGo Live. I'm MoeGo Nicole, and I'm excited to be here today with Kelsey and Sexton from the Dog Studio. Kelsey is a talented entrepreneur and dog grooming enthusiast who has taken her business to new heights by changing her business model. Today, we'll explore the challenges she faced, the benefits she gained, and the lessons she learned along the way. So, with no further ado, let's get started. Kelsey, can you please introduce yourself to the MoeGo community, where you're from, about your business, and anything that you'd like to share?
Hi, my name is Kelsey Sexton. I'm a nationally certified groomer. I've been grooming for 18 years. I've been just rounding it up to 20 because it makes it easier. But I've worked in a lot of different grooming scenarios, done it my whole adult life. I fell in love with grooming when I tried to leave grooming. It's like when you don't know what you got till you try to let it go. And then you come back, you're
Always.
like, yeah, I love this. So
Yeah.
I'm located outside of Nashville, Tennessee. I'm the owner of the Dog Studio in Pleasant View. And yeah, that's me. I'm also a brand ambassador for Foxy Roxy Supply Company. I'm part of their pro team, and I speak all around at the Barkley shows. I got my first chance to speak internationally on a groomer cruise this past January, and I've met so many wonderful groomers that really are just, we're all like a family once we start getting into talking about it. And that's what I love about the groomer community, is that we got each other's back when it comes down to like really getting into what we do and making it the most beneficial for all parties involved. So that's my passion, is to talking to other groomers and helping them have that aha moment. Like whenever I may have been weak in my decisions or anything, when I've done growth processes of journeys and everything, because it's an artistic field. And I can get more into that as we talk on. But yeah, that's just what I love about grooming and why I'm here.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. We appreciate you taking the time. I know you're quite busy, so just being here for an hour is so
Hey,
appreciated.
I'm here for it. I'm excited.
All right. So before we jump in to our main topic, let's start off with, how did you get into the grooming industry?
Well, I got into the grooming industry because whenever I was in high school, my ex, he got me a little Bichon mixed with a poodle right before he went off to boot camp. It was our fur baby. And it was right at the height of like Paris Hilton being in like the Louis Vuitton bag
Hmm.
and the little bitty pocket dogs. And I thought I got myself this micro mini teacup little Bichon poodle. He was going to go everywhere with me and just be my bestest friend. And I brushed him poorly. He got big. It was this whole mix of everything. And I had taken him to a groomer. He was like 7 months old. So now all of the groomers out there are like gasping, like, oh, that's the worst. Bringing a puppy to the groomer at the point where they're in their most fearful age, at the most point where they are big enough to opt out of it and fearless enough to really opt out of it too. And so I bring him there. I know he was mad because I found an old picture of me like cuddling him before the groomer. I'm this high school kid, like, my
You had
baby.
no idea.
I found the cheapest one I could find. I didn't care about that. Whatever credentials I didn't care.
Yeah.
Tell me the number. I'm a kid, And so I bring him into the grooming salon. It was at a woman's house. When I walked in, the hit of urine hit my face, with the hit of cigarette smoke hit my face, with a bird chirping at me and animals just everywhere. And I was like, my dear Lord, oh no, I can't leave my dog here. But I had to, because I wanted to honor the appointment. And so I dropped him off and I was like, I don't want him shaved. All of the triggering words.
Yes.
Leave as much as you can. Keep him cute. And when I got him back, he had literally just a mustache left. Everything else was shaved naked. Like he had the ugliest, crookedest mustache ever. And she was like, she wasn't very customer driven. I don't even know who she is today to like go to her and be like, are you still doing this? Like, did we improve? No, but no harm, no foul. I went for the bargain barrel situation and I got it. And so whenever I get him back, I would never, ever take him to the groomer again. I was figuring this out myself. Right at the same time, a PetSmart was opening up in the area and a couple had already been opened up. And I walked in past the little, automatic doors were locked because they weren't even open yet. And I walked in and I was like, hey, y'all hiring? And they let me in. I started cashier training. I was a cashier for a little bit. They moved me right into the bathing room, but I still vowed that nobody else would groom my dog but me because of that awful experience that I had had.
Yeah.
Well, really, the groomer that worked there was like, I will do it for free. Please let me fix your dog. It looks horrible. And I was like, okay. He bites for
Wow.
his feet. I tell her all the things, and she's like, no, let me fix it. And so then I was being a helicopter for baby mama, and I saw her just take care of my dog. And then I was like, I really think I would like to do this. And then
Yeah.
I thought to myself, no, I want to go to hair school. I want to go to college. I want to do all the things. But I still went through with what I kind of wanted to do, but I learned how to be a groomer at PetSmart through their academy program in that time to make some money. And I just fell in love with it. And I've just been a groomer ever since. So that's where I got my start, was being one of those clients that really don't get the education that we need. We
Yeah.
buy a cute little dog from a breeder. We don't know its history, don't know what's right, what's wrong. We just know that's cute.
Cute. Yep.
And the communication has been my biggest thing, is customer service, helping them not feel bad about not knowing. Because if you look on Google, it's overly saturated with bad advice in general. The
Yeah.
groomers need to be the ones to step up and be like, let me lead you to water. You can't make them drink, but at least you can grab them and be like, hey, hi. So we'd like to do this
Yeah.
with
These are the
kindness.
steps. This is the best thing that you can do for your dog, and just
Yeah.
educate. Yeah.
And taking that time to do so, for
Absolutely.
sure. But that's my story.
Awesome. Very interesting.
Yeah.
So, I saw on the Pro Groomers Network that you recently had a new business model change.
Yeah.
And I'd love for you to speak about that. Really, what made you decide to make that change in your business?
Well, so I'll go back. This kind of goes back into where I got my start, but as a business owner instead of just a groomer.
Hmm.
Um, I had shop hopped for years. I'd never found a good grooming home. I left corporate. I worked at a vet. I worked for mobiles. I worked for mom and pop scenarios. I worked at this really bougie salon. And my husband finally grabs me and goes, babe, you hate everywhere you ever work. They always overwork you. You jump how high and it's never really rewarded. I mean, you make great money, but you're dying.
Yeah.
If you don't like it so much, why don't you just do what everybody else is doing and do it out of your house? We can get the basement squared away for you. And I was like, in my house, people are going to come here. And I was like, no, that's too much. I'm not a business owner. Da, 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 da. Well, he convinces me. We get all the stuff to have a home-based salon. I get through all of the legal mumbo jumbo for running it legally and doing all the things correctly, and having like a little bit of pride in myself. I feel like I'm running a business. I'm a business lady now, and I really realized within the first 2 years of running my home-based salon that I was a very good groomer. I was a very bad business owner. And that is a lot of groomers. You go and you're good at grooming, so you can please the customers. You can book however many dogs in a day, whatever. But the logistics of everything behind the scenes, and then you're worked so down to the bone that you can't even mouth the words to delegate.
Hmm.
You can't even mouth the words to hire or anything like that. I don't know what my computer's doing, but sorry. There. But it's just you get so burnt out on the business aspect of it all that you also start slacking on the grooming aspect, and everything starts to kind of just take over. I ran the home base for 4 years. At one point during the home base, I had decided that if I don't change something, I'm going to die, to be really honest. And it didn't help that at the same time, a local groomer that was really well loved, overworked, underpaid, undercharged, groomed with her heart, she actually got in a car accident and passed away at the same time. So I had like a little bit of traumatic feelings with it all.
Completely.
Her daughter was pregnant with her first grandbaby, and her and I had never really met, but we had talked on Facebook. And I just wanted, that woman was watching me go to trade shows, and she wanted to talk to me about stretch drying techniques and things to make her care about grooming and and get better and faster at it. And she's like, yeah, these clients they're never going to pay those rates for me. She would always say stuff like that. They're never going to pay that. They're used to paying this. They're all going to treat me like this. And I felt the same way in my core, like, who's going to pay me this much to come to my house? You get in your head about all of it. And right after she passed, I just had this like wave of like, no, we're changing some things. And
Wow.
I went from having a free-for-all salon with no policies, no structure, to almost going like on the other polar end of it. I was super strict. I was like, no, 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 no means no.
Yeah.
And I found some wonderful mentors along the way, because I was studying for my mastery with national dog groomers. And like every groomer has the same story, the quote unquote charge your worth.
Yeah.
Don't overbook yourself. No is a complete sentence. But we all get into this like primitive behavior when we get in the zone, because we know we can do it. We can bump out dogs. Money is everlasting as long as I can keep grooming.
Yeah.
But whenever you have something happen, like a physical injury, or you're behind on your tax payment, or anything like that, something crazy could happen and it takes away what you love.
Yeah.
So whenever I restructured the home base, it was very easy for me because I was fearless. I didn't care because I didn't have rent. I didn't care because I didn't have staff. I had to do these things or I was going to end up in the ditch like Monica, the groomer that passed away. And I said, I'm not doing that. So I don't care. So I went fearless. I had structure. I would let people go if they weren't a good fit. I completely separated business and personal. And I got to the point where I'd had a couple of groomers that were willing to move to Nashville and work with me. And we were going to work together to open my studio at the height of COVID.
Wow.
Because I wanted out of the house. I was like, I'm bigger than this. I have big dreams. I know I can do this. Now that I've tackled this thing that was kind of killing me, I know I can do anything now. So I'm going to step into this new business side of being a boss, being an owner, instead of an operator. But my mind in that time during COVID, it was in survival. Like we didn't know what was going on.
Yeah.
Things were closed down, things were open, things were fine. People were sick, people weren't sick. Clients had a free-for-all for if they needed to cancel, because we're all worried about the general humanity at the time. So really policies kind of had to go out the door to an extent during that time. And I got lazy again and back into my people-pleasing habits and back into a state of fear, because now I have this brick and mortar. I have staff. I have to say yes to these people. I have to groom the dogs that we quote unquote don't want to do, the once a year dogs or the 12 weekers or the not routine. And I've just been spinning, flying by the seat of my pants for years. And I would hire support staff and then they wouldn't work out. And then I'd have to work over. So instead of being an owner and a boss, I was totally the operator. And I was very mad about it. Well, whenever I decided to put my foot down to make these changes, I have a lot of mentors along the way, Jill Haley, Blake Hernandez, Delise Knight, Jess Rona, Judy Hudson. Like I could go on and on about all of the people that have helped me with my journey and helping remind me of who I am and what I've inspired people, or people that have inspired me have done that have been successful. We always look on the other side like it's not real, like success is a facade. And we scare ourselves away from it by going into this comfortable place. And then in retrospect, we look back and go, well, man, if I wouldn't have done this, I could have done this. And living in the moment for me is really hard to do. I'm always 40 steps ahead. And my husband has to pull me back and calm me down. He's like, let's go back. Let's go back. Because I'm sitting there. I just fired my groomer. It's just me, a bather, and a receptionist. I'm scared to hire again. And my husband's like, whoa, babe, let's just take it back. Let's take it back. These are your words from the past. Let's go ahead and remember, what was your standard? You wanted routine grooming.
Yeah.
You wanted people that had smaller dogs, that took care of their smaller dogs on a routine schedule. You wanted this price point. You wanted to be all inclusive. You wanted to not have to go nickels and dimes and sales and this, that, and the other. You wanted this. They come to you. They trust you as the professional. You have all of the tools and communication skills to tell these customers what they need.
Yep.
You just have too many that you're saying yes to, that you've let them walk all over you. And I have another friend that is really wonderful. She knows all the secrets. And she's like, Kelsey, you don't need to close your business. You just need to learn how to say no again. And shout out to Lynn if she watches this. But like, I was ready to shut the doors. I was like, I can't do this anymore. This is expensive. This isn't fun. I'm not enjoying grooming. And that's sad. And so I sat down and I really, really got serious with myself. I have been treating my clients like they don't want me, or I've been treating myself like I just got to do it. I've been treating my business like a burden instead of a blessing. And so I need to figure out why I feel this way. One. Two, what small step can I take in a direction that will take me to the next level? And instead of like an overhaul, closing the doors, moving spaces, doing all the things, I decided that you definitely need working capital to make things work. So to do that, I have to raise my prices. If I'm overbooked, if I'm in demand, if I'm overwhelmed and overworked in my days, I'm probably charging too little, because I know I'm a hard worker, and most groomers are. But this is emotionally, physically, mentally demanding job. And groomers joke about not taking a lunch, but that's not healthy.
No.
You have to take a break and step aside. If your schedule doesn't allow for it, then what are you doing? You know, you have to take a vacation. And if your business doesn't allow you to take a vacation, then you need to go back to the budget. Either you're overspending or you're not charging enough for your time. And so I had to get real serious with myself. I kept a budget for the longest time, making sure I stuck to it. And I started with the money, because that's what gets us up. That's what makes us go. I decided that my business model, my current business model, my hourly rate was significantly too low to cater to everybody on an hourly rate. Because I wasn't doing it. I wasn't, even if a dog took me an hour and a half, I still gave them the hour. Or if the dog was a little bit difficult, but it was small, I just gave them the hour. Like stuff like that really was adding up. And I didn't realize it when I had support staff that I was bleeding out. I needed the help, but I wasn't charging enough for the time that was given. And that comes down to, you know, again, we're not really always the best business owners, but we are great groomers. So we see the overall is okay as long as our customers are happy and as long as we're making money. But really, in all reality, if you can't take care of your business and can't take care of delegating and can't take care of breaks and all the other things, then you have to come down to what's costing you. And that's where I came into this whole idea. My dad, he's a master mechanic, and he's been a mechanic my whole life. He's ran businesses too. And he washed his hands of businesses because he's a great mechanic. But again, you know, it didn't translate right into business ownership. But with him being a master mechanic, and I don't know like what the jobs are with that, but to give an analogy into the situation, he makes $100 an hour. That's his rate. If a transmission takes, again, I don't know how long a transmission hour takes, but a transmission on the books is a 6-hour job. But if my dad can get it done in 3 hours, it doesn't matter. He still gets paid for the 6-hour job. And so groomers compute that. They go, well, maybe I was on my phone and it took a little longer. Maybe that's what took so long. Oh, well, I did have to give her a break. Do I charge for that? And that gives this emotional charge into the pricing that you don't even realize happens. And you're fast groomer because you're good at it. So therefore you should be paid adequately for being good at your job and being in demand. And instead of doing a quote unquote hourly rate, it's kind of similar. River Lee, the Savvy Groomer, had hosted a couple of different lives, and I had talked to some friends that had gone through her business boot camp. I'm not quite sure what it's called because I haven't personally gone through it, but I talked to them about my idea, and they're like, that sounds a lot like River's system. And I was like, wow, well, that's helped some people, so maybe I'm on the right track. But
Yeah.
I decided to try to trick myself out of the emotional price tag, to take my hourly rate, and I'm not going to like price something. I'll just use $100 for
that's perfect.
Niggles.
Yeah.
So say I charge $100 an hour for an hour's job, a small dog. Instead of just boxing everything into that hour, I have to sit down and meet the dog, and we know the dog, and we document how the dog behaves, and we document what all the dog needs. If it needs a special type of shampoo, if it needs special handling for the nails, if it won't stand, if this. Instead of calling it an extra 15 minutes, I've been doing a point system where each client starts out at the base cost for the hour. And for everything that's a point for extra time, it's technically 15 minutes. So if the dog is aggressive or doesn't like the nails, or it takes you longer than it should, you can add a point to that. If the dog is bigger than a small hourly dog and it takes you this amount of time, it gets so many points. So I've decided an extra hour is a bigger dog, so it automatically gets 4 more points added to it. If the dog needs a special shampoo, that's a point. If it's just a typical run-of-the-mill dog, you got your hourly rate. But if you start adding tallying points instead of tallying dollar signs, whenever you get to the computer and you're like, point. Oh God, this is a 10-point dog. Whoa.
Yeah.
They're not gonna, you think to yourself, but they're not gonna want to pay, that much money. It doesn't matter if they're not going to pay it. If they've chosen your services and you've been able to accommodate them so well, and you're the only groomer for them, you can't emotionally charge less for your time because these points are fair.
Yes, absolutely.
And we automatically kind of backtrack to ourselves and talk about, oh, well, it was just a little dog. Oh, well, I love her. Oh, well, the mom tips. Like all these excuses that we give to support the fact that we're not charging enough. If somebody has to stop and say, well, it's usually not just.
Yeah.
And the point system has really helped me decipher if I even have time to cater to that client. Maybe my business model isn't made for a large dog that requires 2 or 3 people on it,
Yeah.
Maybe my business model isn't made for an aggressive dog. Maybe my business model is only designed in an hour's time of if I schedule myself a 6-hour day, that's only so many points I can do. And so that's made it very simple for me to decipher, is removing the dollar sign from it and give it a point system. And every time that I'm sitting down with my book and I'm about to make this plan, I'm jumping ahead of myself, but this plan I also made for my new business model is to fearlessly stop worrying about what the client's going to accept. Because in the past, and I know this from my own personal experience, the people I thought would not even bat an eye over a price increase had the biggest hissy fit. And the clients that I thought were going to leave me stayed and paid and tipped double. It was so strange.
Wow.
So I know that happens.
Yeah.
And so whenever I'm making a plan for a client, and one thing that I have decided that, or I'm doing within the business now, is every client is going to get a file that is for them for the communication. They are going to, it is for me to put together notes about their dog, communication. Every client is going to get a new client packet, which just explains the pricing structure, not to an extent. I don't tell the clients the points. Yeah. I just tell them we charge an hourly rate. It's easier for them to compute.
For sure. Yeah.
But we give an estimate after we meet your pet and after we have made a grooming plan to meet their needs, a routine grooming plan to meet their needs. So every client gets a communication front sheet, my policies, their personal dog sheet is very important, and then future visits to like revisit the situation, because there's a lot of clients, since I've been doing this, I've been my own business owner since 2016, and some of these dogs I have seen for years, and sometimes their needs change, and if we don't revisit that, the owner may not realize, oh well, arthritis is setting in, so now Fluffy's a little bit more difficult for her hips. Maybe we can talk to the vet or somebody about mobility. It's really just going back down to the heart of what I care about, is people taking care of their pets.
Yep.
The dogs that have my name on it will always be taken care of the very best. And that's that. There's no, oh well, I'll fit this shave down and make a couple bucks. You know, it's none of that. That kills me over time.
Yeah.
I've done my time, really. And just really not boxing these clients into this they don't know any better box, opening the lid and going, all right, how can they know better? And if they don't want to know better, then I need to release them to another groomer that has time to deal with that. And I just had to be fearless. And so far it's been a mixed bag, because I will preach to people to not take it personal. It's business. It's not personal.
Completely.
Because they will leave you, if they were going to leave you over a price increase, they're going to leave you over something else. Or if you didn't charge this and then you're hurrying one day and you cut a dog, they're going to hate you for that too. Like, what's it matter at the end of the day? I've read a lot of self-help books to try to get me through. And just having the analogy of, at the end of the day, I have to be with myself. I'm in charge of my business. My business isn't in charge of me, and not taking it personal is the only way to get through with that.
For sure. And to your point, like if somebody was gonna leave over a price increase, they were gonna find something that they would like one day.
And another thing I had to sit down and figure out is, what are my actual hours? What am I available for? You know, of course, we have to think about demand and market competition, all these different things. Again, we're not business people. You're constantly in fear that all your clients are going to leave you. They're not going to leave you. If you're a good groomer and you're focusing on being a good groomer, and then you lay down the lines in your business, you just fall right in. You fall right into everything that you love doing. And it's just, these clients aren't going to leave you over not doing your very best. You know, you have to do your very best. If they're going to leave you, it's probably because you're not capable of doing your best for them.
Yes. And if they're not willing to do the price increase, are those really the people that you want to come? You know, they're bargain hunting.
You'll get the girl with the Bichon mix at 16 years old.
Not to get specific.
And it's wild, because we emotionally charge ourselves so hard, and it's so easy to do, because you really do care about the dogs. Again, this is such a unique field. I've worked a lot of different types of jobs. I didn't finish cosmetology school, but I was on the floor and I got to meet some very fun characters along the way. I've bartended, I've worked for call centers, I've done things with the public school systems. Like, I've done all sorts of things. We are not the only ones being told we're not doing our job right. Everybody, every which way, every industry, every field, it's more personally charged coming into us because we care so much. And you can't just tell somebody, oh, don't worry about it, because we worry about it. But really, you have to just set those lines up and put those policies, those boundaries, that structure. If somebody wants to drop off at 7 and you don't open till 8, sorry.
You don't open till 8.
Yeah, you don't open till 8. And I've been guilty of people pleasing so hard in the past that I literally created these monsters, and the clients that I hate or dread or anything like that. It's because I've let them walk all over me without having the guts to say, hey, that's not it. You don't even have to explain why. I don't have to tell them why. Like, I'm a mom, I have 2 kids. Oh, sorry, I can't be there at 7 because I have to take my kids. They don't care about that. We don't open till 8. We open at 8. We open at 8 a.m. I see so many things in the programmer networks and all the different groups of people with the screenshots of their clients' interaction. And I'm like, oh, you care so much. And I love that you care so much, but I can't read what you just set up because I know the client did not respond to that very well because we're overfilling they don't care. And it's not to be heartless. They can be nice. You can be friendly. But really, if you're not taking care of yourself and lighting yourself on fire to keep them warm, they're just going to go walk away when you don't have a burn anymore.
Yeah. Which will inevitably happen if you continue to just push. Yeah.
Exactly. They'll have to find another groomer to meet their needs if you die. Like, so that's where I'm at with that.
So that was excellent. I love the point system. Even just hearing about it, I feel like that's something that a lot of groomers might be able to understand a bit, taking the money out of it and just saying, okay, I don't want to get that stress of I'm piling on the,
right.
The
For me, I immediately, I have an emotional charge towards money. I can't fix it. I spend money when I want. I make money when I want. I hold on to money. Money is here. Money is everywhere. So I have to change my relationship with money into a positive one for the business. And so if I'm getting stressed out by seeing dollar signs go a certain way, I have to remove it works in my brain. So if it works in my brain, maybe it works for everybody else too.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm sure it can help a lot of people.
Yeah.
So I guess what were some of your, so at first you sat down and you made your point system. Was that like the first thing that you started with?
Yes. Well, first of all, I kind of played around with the idea of just going up double on everybody. I was like, screw it. Everybody's getting double. Like, I can only do half these dogs. They're getting double. And I came back down to earth. I couldn't.
Sometimes you got to go big to
yeah, I went up here. I went way up here. I said, don't they even know who I am? I continue education. I do this. It's a privilege to get your dog groomed by me. How dare you treat me like I don't know what I'm doing? But no, I got emotionally driven in this like whole, like, I'm so burnt out. That phrase burnt out was just so, I hate the phrase because it's used so much, because I feel like it loses some of its weight whenever I really say burnt out. Woof.
Yeah.
Burnt out means nothing makes you happy in that situation anymore. You can't find a light at the end. And so the first steps were really just figuring out what my hourly rate was supposed to be. I had to sit down with my business and go through my past budget of my old spending habits and my ideal spending habits. And I also had to figure out, like, what do we actually use in the salon and what was just shiny and pretty? What is our typical maintenance? How much is toilet paper? That printer ink, it's not cheap. Whenever you run out of it, you got to call, oh man, I got to buy printer ink now. Everything breaks at the same time, like all of these different things. So I had to sit down and strictly budget every little category. It was beautiful because I was working on my taxes at the same time. So
you're in the same mindset.
Yeah, I'm ready. I'm going to get this all organized. I looked at it and I was like, oh no, this is so bad. I make like $4 a day. Not really, but it feels like that when you start kind of get tight in your chest and you look at your numbers and you're like, I work all the time. I can't fit any more dogs in. Oh my God. And so I realized that I had been undercharging my hourly rate for a little too long now. I got scared with COVID, and I was such an expensive invitation only home based. I called myself this like routine boutique home based experience. And I went into the brick and mortar to hire, and I fell right back into, I don't want to call it chop shop, but I fell right back into get this done. We
Yeah.
have to take all these dogs. We have to say yes to everybody for now. Or no, that client's definitely a no, but that client's an okay maybe. Like,
Yeah.
and we would just take all of the people that called no matter what. I had to sit down again after I had my budget and think of what my ideal client is looking for. Who is my ideal client?
Mm-hmm.
What do they drive? What kind of dog do they have? How do we interact?
Yeah.
Like, all of these things, I had to get very serious on what is the Kelsey Ann experience? What is my secret special sauce? What is something that is so important to me in my heart in my day to day that I would feel nothing but joy, even if the dog pooped on my table, you
Mm-hmm.
know? Not going into worst case scenarios, but going straight into best case scenarios. What does my ideal day look like?
Yeah.
And now how do I design that? And I moved right into, after I have my budget and my ideal client in mind, I moved into, is this another question?
You're going into it, so I
Okay.
just let it
Okay,
go.
cool. Sorry. So I had my ideal client in mind. I had my budget already ready. And then I had to think of some deal breakers. I had to come back down. We got the two main important things to me is where's the money going? What's my ideal? And now what are my deal breakers? What is an absolute no from me? And I had to look through all of my policies and procedures, my drop off, my pickup, if I'm going to hold the dogs or if I'm going to require people to pick up right away. Like, what are we doing here? Like, what is my daily operation deal breakers?
Yeah.
And after I've defined my deal breakers, I can come over here and go, all right, these are the opposite of my deal breakers. So obviously, if I really hate this deal breaker, I'm obviously going to love the counterbalance to it.
Yeah.
So I had to make my worst case scenario, my best case scenario in my policies and procedures. And that part was very hard for me because I'm pretty loosey goosey, go with the flow. I like to let the clients drop off kind of whenever, as long as they don't care when they get them back.
Yeah.
Some days it's not good. So I have to structure that just right. So I decided to have a drop off time at 8 a.m. and another drop off time at 10 a.m. and one dog dropping off at noon. So that way the day is a little spaced out, but I have a couple of dogs dropping off. So my support staff has something to do. If a dog needs a break, we can adapt. And if somebody needs to leave for work, they can leave their dog until we close for the day. I like having that flexibility it's a working class town. So I like to have that flexibility. There have been times I've sat here and told myself, no, they have to pick their dog up right away. I'm not listening to that. But really, in all reality, I don't mind it. So why am I getting all flustered about it? That must be a personalized situation with that one client.
Yeah.
And that client is the exception to my normal operations. So that client, I need to have a conversation with that client.
Yeah.
That client needs to be told, hey, you got to pick her up right away. And we need to have the luxury to be able to say, we can't do this, or we don't want to do this.
They're not your ideal client.
Yeah, it's not the ideal situation.
Yeah.
And maybe they could be ideal if they worked on these parameters, but I'm still not bending my policies by making this exception. And that can kind of get a little messy depending on the person. If you're not strong in your for any groomer that's not strong in their definite decision making, like if they're not good with their line in the sand, maybe start like I had to start with everything is no. And come back.
Because if everything's maybe or everything's an exception,
we have
being
everything's an exception. So start with your definite deal breakers, get rid of the deal breakers, or communicate with the deal breakers how they could be a deal maker, and go from there. And so I just had to really dig in and stop looking at the clients' faces in my head, because I have a bond with a lot of them. And I had to go, no, that day is terrible when their dog comes. I have maybe trained them to think it's all okay. I either need to have this difficult conversation. If they're a pre-booker that's doing everything I want, and maybe the dog's just being a little difficult, maybe it's time for me to have a conversation if I want to save the relationship.
Yeah.
If I don't want to save the relationship and I think it is an uphill battle with the situation, there is no way I can make this client happy without going over my boundaries, then that's whenever I have to release them.
Yeah.
And it makes it a lot easier to just, I don't like calling it ripping the Band-Aid off, but because we've thought about it, you know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
If you are miserable with a client, it's just time to release them. There's no sense in grooming a dog that you don't enjoy grooming when there's so much demand.
And maybe there's a better fit elsewhere.
Yeah. And just because they're a bad fit for me doesn't mean that the groomer down the road, I call her up, be like,
Exactly.
hey, Miss Jones is crazy. She thinks I'm going to do this. She goes, I do this every day. Give her to me.
Exactly.
You know?
Exactly.
There's a groomer for every dog. And
Yes.
so the limiting belief that you won't have any clients left if you did what you wanted, that's not true. That's not true. That's just simply not true. That's a lie you've been telling yourself to stay safe and be a people pleaser, because it's way more comfortable taking the path of least resistance and setting yourself on fire than it is to end the difficult situation.
For sure. All right. So what are some key takeaways you had about all of this?
All of this really is my biggest thing with everything with dog grooming, and as a dog groomer / business owner, is having gratitude for your life and having gratitude for what you love to do is easier whenever you are truly doing what you want to do. And being positive and not going into the groomer groups to be like, this woman all day, every day. Those groomer groups are filled with just people venting. And it's okay to vent as long as you start realizing that you're living on a loop and it's time to change something. Don't fall into the spiral of the client's the enemy. The client isn't the enemy at all. If anything, if you have had a moment to sit down and talk with them and they're not listening to your professional words, that's on them.
Yeah.
It's not up to us to judge them as the silly teenager with the doodle. You know, like, it's not on us to make them see what we see and make them understand what we do. We are offering them a service. They have chosen us for whatever reason, either it be availability, pricing, friendliness, you look like their daughter, like you look like their cousin, like, or you're a dude and they like dudes grooming their dogs. Like, it doesn't matter. They've chosen you. If it is your ideal client, they will listen to your words.
Yes.
And don't get jaded like I have so many times in my career, and forget that it's up to us to communicate what we need and what we want to do and what we're not going to do.
Yeah, I feel like that will be wildly helpful for a lot, and hearing your background and the journey that you took, and kind of how you pivoted and adapted and
it's ever changing too. Like, I feel like every time I'm like, all right, we're smooth sailing, all of a sudden a new season comes and the clients are like, we're going on vacation, we got to mess up your whole schedule. And it's like, all at once, hive mind, come on.
we just had a nice working flow, and then
it's adapting. We get used to it. You know, you get done with the dog and it pees in the kennel. Oh no, we got to clean it. It is what it is. If we have enough time in our day and we're being properly properly paid, for compensated, we're being properly compensated for our skill set and our knowledge and expertise, we won't be so burnt out doing the people that don't care. It's and I use a lot of air quotes because it's really not true. It's just a belief that we end up believing that convinces us to stay safe, that nobody's going to do what we want. No, we can make that power happen. I'm proof that it's been possible before, and it's going to be possible again and again and again. And all of the successful groomers of past that have done it with love, and like, they had to do it, you know. Some of the groomers that are very successful to me, they hit a point in their life where they just couldn't do it the old way anymore. They had to change something. And if you want to push yourself to where you're so uncomfortable that you have to make that change, that's usually where the chaos kind of builds in, and you don't want to do it and you scare yourself out of it. But if you just start realizing that it's something as simple as one step at a time, taking one problem at a time, one deal breaker at a time, and restructuring what your ideal day should be. And that's what you're going to have in the future if you keep on doing that.
Yeah. Okay, my last question. Any advice you have for someone thinking about, moving forward with a new business model, making that change?
Making that change. Yes. Okay. So a lot of advice is think with a clear head.
I love that.
Don't make decisions when you're mad, sad, tired, stressed. Calm down.
Mm-hmm.
Write it down. Don't do it just because, every client was late today. That's it. New late policy. It'll be emotionally charged. It'll send it straight to the wrong person. The person that was late ain't even going to read it.
Yeah.
And you've just done nothing but make yourself feel bad. So you have this negative energy towards it. So just always do things calmly and with the right ideals behind of why you're fed up with something. And then really, it's not over explaining yourself to the customer. Whenever you over explain something to a customer, like, oh, I need to change my business model because, I just don't get any time with my kids. And the water heater broke yesterday. We're out of shampoo and I'm only charging like $12 for this. But like, oh, no, your price isn't going up, Miss Jones. No.
Yeah.
You immediately conversate with this person and word vomit over explaining anything. And they're only going to see to their perception anyways.
Mm-hmm.
So when you're making a change, don't overly involve the clientele that you're making the changes with.
Yeah.
But just make it very clear. We have a new policy. If you're 15 minutes late, we have to reschedule, and 100% cancellation fee is due before future bookings. That's that. If they dig and go, well, why is that? Is it because I was late last Tuesday? It is what it is. Let them have it. Let them have it. Don't worry about what. And the words "don't worry" kind of stink to give because you worry about it because you care.
Yeah.
But whenever I made somebody mad because I had to let them go because they had 3 old English sheepdogs, and I was upset about it. I handled it wrong. I was worried about it. And then they went over to the county page right away and made a blast, like passive aggressively.
Yeah.
And I got consumed with it and I had my feelings hurt. And at the end of the day, I'm just glad I don't have to groom the big dogs anymore because I can't.
Yeah.
I can't. So, and that's that. And if we're getting upset about it, we're going to try to convince ourselves that
you could do it,
that we're in the wrong. By the end of convincing yourself of what other people think, you've convinced yourself that you're not right. And you need to my biggest point of advice is to keep your circle surrounded with positive people. No gossiping, no talking crap about the grooming salon down the road, no talking crap about this, that, and the other. Don't talk bad about the clients. You can vent to somebody that is positive, somebody that you really fully trust, therapist, a spouse, a mom, a dog. Dogs don't tell your secrets.
They're great listeners.
They're great. They don't talk. Cats, not so much. They're like, and they're like, you need a therapist. But really surrounding yourself with people that are smarter than you, that have done these things, that business owners that aren't dog groomers, people that you think are successful, people that you wouldn't go and talk crap about something to them. You know what I'm saying? You need to surround yourself with people that aren't going to bring you down while you're evolving. Because whenever you talk to the wrong person, they may not realize the words that they say, but it can talk you out of what you want to do. So writing it down, keeping a journal, keeping up, analyzing your current behaviors, like your budget, analyzing your every time that you make a deal that you didn't want to make, write it down, have a moment, live in it, and then move forward. how you're not going to do that anymore. You'll start reminding yourself more and more that you're this person that you want to be.
Awesome.
So, yeah, don't be scared.
That was excellent. Thank you so much, Kelsey. And
Oh, you're so welcome.
I learned so much just from you. I'm sure the audience will have a lot of questions, so we can cut right over that.
Cool.